Welcome to the module of Introduction to Scrum and Agile. Let me introduce you to the term Scrum. The origins of Scrum actually reach all the way back to the post-World War II period. After Japan's defeat, the country was occupied by the Allied powers led by General Douglas MacArthur. MacArthur was frustrated with the slow pace of rebuilding Japan's shattered economy. He requested that the US Army bring over American engineer and statistician William Edwards Demings to help with reconstruction. Deming has expertise in quality control techniques and began training hundreds of engineers, managers, and scholars in concepts of quality. Now, Toyota eventually hired Deming to train hundreds of the company's managers and used his expertise to develop the Toyota production system, the source of today's lean methodology. His work in Japan was considered vital to the rebuilding of that country's economy. And many of the techniques he introduced were used by Japanese companies to vault ahead of their Western competitors, especially in the area of rapid innovation. So the term Scrum comes from the game of rugby. It refers to a scrummage, which involves players from each team packing closely together in an attempt to gain possession of the ball. In rugby, success comes from discipline, communication, and commitment from team members working as a cohesive unit with a common focus. A little bit about the origins of Scrum. In 1986, two visiting professors at Harvard, Hirotaka Takeuchi and Ikujiro Nonaka, they published an article in Harvard Business Review titled "The New Product Development Game." The two had been studying Japanese manufacturers such as Fuji, Xerox, Honda, and Canon in an attempt to understand their success at releasing successful innovations. They realized that these companies all took a different approach to the design and development process. Rather than following a traditional relay race method of product development, where one group of functional specialists hands off its completed phase to the next functional group, these companies were using an approach that Takeuchi and Nonaka related to the game of rugby, where one team tries to go the whole distance as a unit, passing the ball back and forth. And they call this approach Scrum Product Development. And in 1993, Jeff Sutherland was hired by the Easel Corporation as chief engineer. Sutherland was a former Vietnam War pilot, statistician, entrepreneur, and software engineer with a lot of experience. Easel placed him in charge of developing a new software product. They did not have many ideas for what this should be, only that it needed to be faster and better than what was already on the market. Now, while researching ways to achieve rapid innovation, Sutherland read the paper by Takeuchi and Nonaka and borrowed many of its key ideas to create a new method for developing software, which he called Scrum. He then collaborated with longtime colleague Ken Squabble to further develop and codify the approach. And in 1995, the two wrote a paper on Scrum and published it at the year's conference on object-oriented programming, systems, languages, and application. So what exactly is Agile? This is what Ken Squabble has to say, who is a co-creator of Scrum and on creating the Agile Manifesto. He says, we're not going to tell people what to do. The idea is you're doing creative work. You need guidelines to help you, not constrain you. So why don't we come up with a bunch of principles and values alternatives that might lead you to what you need to do.